It's that time of year again where most of, if not all of the major coaster announcements have been made. So let's dive in this week and look at every major thrill coaster opening in the US next year. Tune in next week for the international openings. Now quick before we start, a like on these videos really helps the channel grow, and thank you guys so much for the support over the last year or so. It's really amazing. So let's get into this. Indiana Beach was resurrected and the response from ownership has been to grow the park. In addition to a Zyklon, they have brought in and renovated the former Chimera coaster. The 3-inversion Schwarzkopf will supply intense loops and a fun ride as American Dryer looping. Now the park will now feature 7 roller coasters. Moving down to Georgia, we have Arie Force One at Fun Spot Atlanta. I'll link my entire in-depth video, but this massive RMC should really steal the show as one of the top coasters opening next year, and it should put this very small park on the map as a destination for thrill seekers. Look for Fun Spot to add more to this park, but this could easily be a top 20 coaster in the US from opening. Now, another small park making a big splash would be Glenwood Caverns in Colorado. Known for their mountaintop attractions, they're adding a custom Gerstlauer Eurofighter to the park, promising some unbeatable views, a beyond vertical drop, and 3 inversions. While it looks to be a very short ride experience, this one is all about the location, the views, and the unique elements. Sticking with beyond vertical drops, we will see the first on a B&M dive coaster when Dr. Diabolical's cliffhanger opens at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. While it won't actually cliffhang off the quarry wall, this should be a GP favorite, and it is the first new addition since 2018's Wonder Woman. Now the smooth and graceful ride experience should complement the intensity-driven lineup pretty nicely. Another short ride, but with the smaller height, it'll be interesting to see how it compares to those larger dive coasters in the country. Speaking of some smaller dive coasters, Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego is finally set to debut after 2 years of waiting. Now, a more inversion-focused layout on the similar length to Dr. Diabolical's, this should be a fun addition to a park that's really in need of more coasters. Now, this will have a 90-degree drop and 3 inversions, and should pack in some moderate thrills for guests of the park. Next is perhaps one of my most personal favorites for coming next year, because it's only about 15 minutes away from my house. Now, Adventureland on Long Island, New York is adding Fireball, North America's first rollerball model. Now, this is a very similar, mild version of a 4D free spin almost. The ride will tilt guests as it runs across a horizontal track. It's a very weird and quirky design, but Adventureland will now feature 3 roller coasters, including their kiddie coaster, a small mock spinner, and the rollerball. Now, it's not too bad for a park that basically fits in the plot of an alley. Heading down to Florida, we have another really large opening. Announced in 2018, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is finally going to be ready, and it's going to be an absolutely massive Epcot indoor coaster. Now, it's completed with a brand new custom ride system, massive amounts of theming, and an MCU tie-in, so this should easily be one of the longest waits in the park. This Vekoma will come in with over 5,500 feet of track and could easily be one of the best Disney coasters if the theming is up to snuff. Moving over to Arizona, we have the Hot Wheels coaster opening at Mattel Adventure Park. This will be the long-awaited second installation of the Chance Rides GTX, and unlike Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom, this one will feature inversions. Now, the ride model is known for powerful airtime in a small and compact area, but it's yet to be seen if this second installation will be as well regarded as the first. This brings yet another thrill coaster to the Phoenix area, which was sorely needed. Another Orlando coaster, Icebreaker, will finally open in February at SeaWorld Orlando. Now, it's another 2020 coaster that was delayed in the chain, but this premiere multi-launch looks more mild than most launch coasters from the company, but it should help balance out that lineup of big B&Ms. Now, the layout looks to feature some good airtime and fun moments throughout, and should help younger guests step up to some of those larger inverting coasters. I just hope they let me test it out when I finally get there in January, fingers crossed. Now, the most anticipated 2020 coaster that's yet to open has to be Iron Gwazi. It will probably be the king of Tampa Bay's Busch Gardens when it finally opens. Now, this RMC Hyper Hybrid is going to be an absolute speed machine, and it should top many enthusiasts' favorite list. While it may not be as long as some of the other Hyper Hybrids in the country, this coaster should be nothing short of incredible. A 91-degree, 206-foot drop with 2 inversions and over 4,000 feet of track make this a must-ride, and really the only question is, will it be the best coaster in Florida when it finally opens? Moving up to Iowa, we have Lost Island, which will finally open its gates in 2022. Now, the 2 main coasters being a pair of relocations, the first of which is the Vekoma SLC, and finally the best should be a coaster known formerly as Kunan. Kunan? Probably not saying that right, but oh well. Now, the small-scale intimate hydraulic launch coaster should be a unique ride and serve as a fun headliner for the park for now. Now, the ride has a 78-foot top hat, 2 inversions, only over about 1,440 feet of track. Now, the park looks to impress in theming and other areas, and it should make a nice pair to visit with Adventureland. Now, the other major Gerstlauer opening in the US for 2022 will come to Austin, Texas, and Codaland. This infinity coaster named Palodrome will feature multiple inversions, a trip over the park's entrance road, and a spike to send the cars backwards through the course. Now, a switch track will be installed just below the drop to allow the trains back to the station, and this new kiddie park / racetrack will feature probably the most unique Gerstlauer in the country. The final of the 2020 SeaWorld chain coasters is going to be Pantheon, an intimate multi-launch finally opening in Busch Gardens, Williamsburg in March. Now, the ride will feature a 72-mile-per-hour top speed, achieved over multiple passes on the launch track, and some excessively outer-banked elements. Now, the ride promises some great airtime moments throughout, and should be one of the best rides in the park and possibly the country. It will undoubtedly be compared to Velocicoaster, so place your bets, everybody. Now, moving back to Disney World, we have Tron opening at the Magic Kingdom. This motorbike-style launch coaster will be surrounded by glass dome structures and massive lighting theming that will shine across the area in the park. This is a clone of the ride at the Shanghai Park, and it has had rave reviews so far. This has taken long enough to open, so needless to say, there are plenty of Disney fans who are very excited for this ride. Then we have a pretty small opening at King's Dominion, which will be their new 4D free spin Tumbili. The smaller of the SNS models, it should replace the Flat Ride the Crypt very well in both the ride experience and spirit. It is a holdover for Volcano's replacement, but I will never complain about a coaster taking the place of a flat ride. Finally, we have Six Flags Magic Mountain and their world record 20th coaster, Wonder Woman Flight of Courage. Now, a near clone of Jersey Devil, this RMC will take the crown for the world's tallest, longest, and fastest single rail coaster by just a hair. Now, if it's anything like the one at Great Adventure, expect an excellent first half filled with strong forces and inversions, with a milder second half that's a little disappointing. Now, overall, it should be a very good fit for the park that has almost anything. This was one of the few holes left, which was a single rail coaster. So those are all the US openings for major coasters. If there's any I missed, let me know down below, and I want to know which rides you're going to be making the trip out to ride in opening years. Now, look out for the international list coming hopefully next week. Until then, that's all from the shores of Island Coasters.